Dev is just really removed from the story for a while here. I feel bad for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right?
Cameron stays under the table, the Xanax having kicked in by this, leaving the coyote in a bit of...
But then again, this isn't going well for any of the three characters now that I'm really
No!
thinking about this, so...
Nope. His sobbing has trailed off. Not too much emotion left in, aside from feeling numb. His trip is getting more and more, and he knows that the peak is nearing, maybe in another half hour. Still, he begins to notice things that he's sure aren't part of this trip. A presence, not too far away, one that he knows very well. Dev. With no idea of what he's doing, he instinctively reaches out. But then he's interrupted by another person he doesn't recognize, one that's much closer. Cameron gets on his paws and knees, looking out from under the table.
Oh, this isn't going to be good, is it?
His vision is definitely different than anything he's experienced before. Unlike the dreamlike, reality-altering psilocybin, the vision he's entered has a clarity. Like he's not even tripping at all. The figure of someone, appears before him, and Cameron knows everything immediately. Benjamin Kowalski, a rabbit, born in 1977, ran away from his Pueblo home when he was 16. For several years, he moved from city to city, sometimes in surrounding states, before settling in Peyton.
Would you like a break to grab some water, Hannah?
Yeah, I should probably grab some more.
I got you.
Let's take a small pause real quick because I think this is gonna get serious real quick. I'm gonna grab water for myself too.
Okay.
And we're back from our break. Whenever you're ready, narrator.
For several years. Sometimes...
Oh no! Your mic cut out real bad there.
What the?
For several years.
Sometimes. And that's it. That's all that came through.
Okay, I'll try to read it louder.
Everybody hurts.
See. For several years, he moved from city to city, times in surrounding, before settling in Peyton.
It still was cutting out, but it's better.
Grocery store, and the extra money.
It's like water.
So we're out again.
And
Okay, so it isn't our microphone.
It was very soft this time.
It's
So DJ had unplugged
because I unplugged the microphone, so we're on max.
Oh, wow. Yeah, then I need to help you guys with setting up things so that way, Discord at least won't do that to you guys.
Yeah,
either.
so the one kicking us out, it must be Discord. Edit. What would it
I'll
be?
have to... It'll be it. I'll have to
your
check.
mic sensitivity fixed up. Because it's probably doing a noise cancellation and noise reduction.
Yeah, here, let's play with a few things here.
He stocked shelves at a grocery store, and the extra money he saved up would fund his weed supply. Brian was his dealer. In September 1998, he agreed to let Brian take him to his trailer home in Echo. He was promised 2 ounces of weed in exchange for one night of lovemaking, as the bear had put it. Benjamin wasn't gay, and even if he was pretty sure Brian wouldn't be his type. 2 ounces was a lot, though, and way too good to pass up.
So I'm gonna say that's exactly what the problem was with your mic this whole time, because now I'm hearing your bird squeak in the background, and that's exactly what was going on. You have so much background noise in your home that it's been trying to cancel everything.
Oh gosh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it wasn't a bird. I think you heard the.
I know it's not just the bird; it's probably like a whole bunch of other stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like the fans, the
Oh,
rain.
in the kitchen, in the fridge.
and you echoing too.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, because
okay.
Mozart is being a great litmus test for us now hearing everything.
Alright, DJ's trying to close the door to that room and see if that will help.
Mozart's honestly not that big of an issue. I just was bringing him up because like he's an example of like, oh, we can hear these things now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what was going on. I was more like, oh, we found what the problem was.
And potentially we could adjust that a little bit, but yeah, I guess at this point we'll leave it as is because now you can actually hear us.
Oh yeah.
DJ, is it okay if I keep going, or do you...
you can keep going.
Okay. He's getting the hot water ready.
Nice.
Alright. 2 ounces was a lot, though, and way too good to pass up. After 4 days of torture, Brian accidentally strangled him for too long, and Benjamin didn't regain consciousness. Of course, Brian planned on killing him anyway, so he did. The bear was only disappointed that he didn't get a few more days with him. Timothy Esposito was a skunk born in 1985 in a decaying industrial Midwestern city. He transplanted to Mesa, and in May 2005, that was where he'd attended a BDSM-themed event in an unused warehouse. He liked Squeak, and so did Brian, so they fooled around a bit. He didn't much like Brian, but the bear liked him a lot. Brian liked him so much, in fact, that he followed the skunk as he walked home after the event and kidnapped him on an empty street. Timothy was strong and almost escaped multiple times, once managing to leave the trailer before being caught just a few dozen feet from the dirt road. Brian continued their Squeak, except now it wasn't play at all, and after 2 weeks, Brian again suffocated his victim for too long. This time, Brian thought he was fairly successful in keeping his victim alive that long. Daniel Gallegos was a ferret born in 1996. He was from the Sonoran capital, but was staying with family in Mill City to work a summer job. He was saving up money for his university tuition. In August 2014, days before he was meant to head back to Sonora, he met Brian outside a club before being kidnapped and driven to Echo. Brian was able to keep him for an entire month, and even though a few of Brian's customers had seen him tied to the torture rack, no one said a thing. Eventually, Brian seemed to decide he'd gotten all he could out of the ferret, and he bludgeoned Daniel to death with an old tire iron, just because he wanted to try something different. The bear couldn't believe how long it took, how hard he had to hit the kid before he finally stopped moving.
Red!
Cameron is jolted back to reality as he yanked up by his shirt so he's not even touching the floor.
So I'm just gonna reiterate my feelings about Brian. The dude fucking deserves to be dead.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know Harry at one point was like, oh, well, sometimes monsters are made. No! Fuck that. You don't get an excuse to be a fucking serial killer. Fucking die.
I mean, so, two things can be true. Monsters are always made, but then fuckers gotta die.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Dahmer was a victim of child abuse, but that fucker got to die.
Mm-hmm.
Bitch gotta die. Bitch gotta be removed from the system.
Oh,
And this is the thing, is in reading this, I'm like, this is like a Jeffrey Dahmer fucking situation, and I'm seeing that he's like trying to have somebody, he's trying to have this relationship that he can control. So I kind of get why he's doing it, but bitch gotta die. You can't be doing this shit, and now you gotta die. And did he died in Echo, right?
In some routes he does, not all.
Okay, because this is also, it's gross and disgusting, and it's also just, the thing that fucks me up is just hearing this stuff, is that if Brian was hot, people would be into this.
Oh, I know.
If I shouldn't say that. If Brian was traditionally hot,
Mm-hmm.
because Brian, definitely people are into Brian's body shape, but he is not traditionally hot.
Yeah, no, he is very much meant to. So Echo is also, there's an interesting like video I found on YouTube that somebody did where they broke down like how Echo is also a commentary about being gay in America, and
Right.
like, and how Brian is very much a representation of like the idea of like the gay predator in everything.
Yeah, I was saying he's very a predatory gay.
Mm-hmm. So I thought that was a very interesting one. Which, by the way, I'm going to give you guys those links once we get through Echo.
Good, that sounds good.
Like, there's some spoilers about Echo in them that I can't. That's why I can't share them yet.
It's funny because he's very much, well, not funny, but it's like I noticed like he's very much like a John Wayne Gacy type.
Mm-hmm.
So we have all of these, I don't know if I would say positive portrayals, but like neutral and fairly realistic portrayals. Because everybody's gay. And then you have this person who is like such a stereotypical predatory gay.
Well,
Is
yeah.
stereotypical predatory gay someone who kills the people who they
Yeah,
fuck?
John
Is
Wayne
it
Gacy.
just rape? Rape. So wait,
Yeah,
is that what
burying
the
younger
straights
boys.
are afraid of? That we're gonna steal their children and then just brutally murder them?
There was there's
it's-
two different versions of it. There is this version with Brian where he is the one that basically, would basically be a serial killer, destroy their victims, things like that. But the other one is the corrupting predatory gay, where they'd get confused young men who could totally remain good Christian men, and they turn them gay by confusing them. And so that's
I mean,
the
there's
other
more than
predatory
just
gay.
those. Yeah,
Well, I
there's
know,
more
but
than
those are
just
the two big
yeah.
ones that were
Yeah.
discussed when I remember this video talking about like
Okay,
the
yeah.
predatory gay concept within Echo.
Yeah. And actually, I guess, what's the Gila monster's name again?
Flynn.
Because he's kind of like the other
You
stereotype.
could view him that way, but the thing is, he's not. He's definitely more complicated even within the story.
Right.
He
I mean, like, yeah.
He doesn't try and force that upon anyone.
Right.
Nice. So they decided to go. Oh. Are
Whenever
we...
you're ready, narrator.
I think I read this line.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Brian's paws hold the front of his shirt while shaking him violently.
Well, what? What is it?
Cameron kicks around to try to get his feet on solid ground again. Despite being almost overwhelmed by the numbing calm of Xanax, it's not enough to stop the primal fear Cameron has of this bear. Especially not after seeing the horrors he committed on those men. What he'd just seen was condensed, distilled into an easy-to-follow series of events, but all the while, he had absorbed all the tiny details too. He knows Brian promised these men many things, that he'd only keep them for 1, 2, 3 more days before letting them go. That if they'd just be a little more quiet, he'd let them go. But Cameron knows none of those promises were kept. The visions had been so real that to Cameron, it felt like he'd been there for everything they went through. Luckily, he hadn't felt anything, but it was as if he was in the room with them. This room. Brian seems to gain some control over himself and lets go of the coyote. Cameron isn't able to stand with his weak, shaking legs and sits down heavily on the ground, looking up at the limping bear.
Call your name and you wouldn't answer. I told you to let me know if the visions were starting.
I couldn't.
Brian waits, looking more impatient the more Cameron stammers, which only makes him stammer more.
I swear to fucking God. Why do all of you become whimpering little dipshits the second I lose my cool for like a second?
He reaches down, and Cameron cringes as he's yanked up to his feet again. It's clear that Brian wants him to keep standing this time, so he does, steadying himself against the table behind him.
Hey, Brian.
He does his best to stop, but the sobs keep coming. Brian, the visions, the people he'd just felt, it's not an easy thing to just shrug off.
I said to quit, not be quieter.
Cameron's mouth dries up even more. His tongue now sandpaper against the roof of his mouth as fear helps shock him into a statue-like state. Cameron knows he owes a lot to the sedative right now. Without it, he wouldn't be able to stop, and Brian might kill him.
That's better. But faster next time. Got it?
Okay.
Cameron opens his mouth to answer, but finds himself yanked forward suddenly, only to come to a horrible, jarring stop as the bear slams his knee into the coyote's torso. Cameron watches the luminous arches writhe about, convulsing, almost like they're mirroring the coyote's in turmoil. The knee is so big compared to himself that it seems to cover most of his chest and stomach.
You can thank your boyfriend for that one. And he still earns you one more.
Brian finally pulls back, and Cameron crumples to the ground, unable to process what Brian is saying. Not that he'd be able to understand it anyway. The coyote lets out guttural groans over and over again.
What's that you're saying?
Brian taunts him from above, and Cameron responds with a whooping gasp, pressing his face into the floor in agony.
I asked you a fucking question.
Cameron is lifted into the air again, feeling his feet kick around for purchase on the ground as he once again dangles from his shirt, the fabric stretching to the point that Cameron can hear the threads popping in his collar. Cameron cracks open an eye and sees Brian drawing back a huge paw, and Cameron manages to choke out a few words with the tiny amount of air he's gathered into his collapsed lungs.
No, nothing.
Cameron wheezes loudly between the words, knowing that this is exactly what Brian likes. But how can he stop himself? He's not even sure if stopping himself will help. Maybe that will trigger Brian into hurting him more. But, to Cameron's relief, the bear pauses, then slowly drops his fist. Cameron sees the wild look in Brian's eyes gradually leave as he stares at the gasping coyote in his grasp.
Yes, I'll save the other one for later.
The bear lets go, and Cameron slumps back to his knees, curling up again in the fetal position.
Now, what was it you saw?